Okay, I'm going to go through a color adjustment with special regards to doing it in passes. In other words, dealing with different aspects of the color requirements of this file at different stages. Let's first of all look at the image. It's a very poor quality image taken with my iPhone. And if we press the letter Y, we're looking at just the luminance, and we can see that it's very sunk in its tones here. A lot of loss of detail. It's not so bad up here, a little bit pasty maybe. Down here, if we go away from Y, we go back to RGB. I want to try and deal with the color cast. Now the way we do that is to have a look at what should be a neutral area. Now I would say that the back of his shirt should be neutral. If we Command Shift drag on it, we've got these three values down here, and we can see if it's neutral, then those three values should be all the same. They're not, so what we're evidently looking at is a blue color cast. Too much blue and not quite enough red. Okay, so let's zoom out and back. Now, actually quite a nice way of working is if we Command click on the tab and then go full screen on that. Makes life a little bit easier. Push that in a bit. Right, I'm going to deal first of all with the tones, and partly because sometimes in the adjustment of tones some of the colors are changed, and so you want to get the tone adjustments out of the way first. Let's do a color lookup. And if we drag our mouse along here, we see in the color lookup window there's really not that much happening. Over here there's plenty of contrast, over here there's very little. So let's go to the master curve. Let's Command Option drag, Command Option click. Now this is one of the perils of making an adjustment, is that you can get one part of the area looking fine, one part of the image looking fine. That is better. It's not wonderful, but it's better. In fact, I'll tell you what, let's zoom in here, shall we? So that is certainly better, but this is looking blown out up there. So if we turn that adjustment on and off, you can see I've lost a lot of detail in those clouds, yet gained it in the dark areas. So let's see what we can do about that. Obviously what we need is for that adjustment that we've just done to be only partial, in other words just to happen in the lower half, and that's easily enough dealt with. Let's get a ramp. Now let's just connect our ramp to there. So that would be our ramp. Now white would let an adjustment through, so we could turn that ramp around. We want it only happening in the lower half. We can get different flavors of ramp, the different value of gradients. That might be better. Let's try that. Won't know until we try. Okay, so we got that and that. Okay, so let's just go through these a bit. Actually, linear is pretty good. Yeah, linear keeps a little bit more contrast. So if you look at this area down here, we've brought out some of the detail that was there. Now we need to deal with that color cast. probably the easiest way is a mult. Let's close this fella. Now we do this using values, and I think the easiest way for you is if I zoom in a bit and get all of these arranged. We need to degang those, so we're looking at number values, and zoom in. So now we Command Shift drag in an area, maybe in this area, and look at these values. So red needs to come up to meet the green, so let's put 1.1. Look at those, compare those values again. That's too much, so 1.05, 1.58, okay, 0.6, 7, that's good enough. And now blue comes down. I leave the green channel alone as a matter of policy, because you can change the lightness values of an image by playing around with the green channel. Green tends to be where the lightness values live. We've still got too much blue. 7, 6, 1, 6. Okay, 7, 5. Haven't got a flare for this, have I? Definitely not. That's good enough. So let's get this back, and if I take that out, so I've gone from a very blue scene to one where I've multiplied, I've desaturated, and it's brought out the more of the range there. Now you can then perhaps go on to do, say, a color lookup, and start making some creative adjustments. For example, let's say just raise this value in the center there, and then we could Bezier, let's do a Bezier. And just mask out that area. And make that, press O to get rid of that. And then we can make these adjustments a little more specific. It's not a huge effect, it just brings the attention slightly towards the middle. Okay, so most importantly, we separate out an adjustment into different passes. We look at the tone, the lightness, and then we look at the color. We can, if we want, just go one step further and say look at the saturation, cover all the HSV bases. So we could maybe saturate a tiny bit. In fact, I could put a saturation curve on that later on if I fancied. Okay.